To complete our series on courage, I'd like to go back to something that I preached a couple of weeks ago. It's from Daniel chapter 5, and it's called Belshazzar's Feast. The writing was on the wall, and we are told here in chapter 5 that Belshazzar holds a feast for 1,000 of his lords, his wives and his concubines, and as he desecrates the vessels of the temple, the writing appears on the wall. And we are told that his knees knocked, his colour changed, and his thoughts alarmed him. He asked his enchanters and his astrologers if they could interpret what was on the wall, but they couldn't. And he was at a loss, he didn't know what to do. And we are told in chapter 5 and verse 10 that the queen appeared. I want to talk this morning about the courage of initiative. She risked her life by coming uninvited into the royal presence that day. As you can tell, she hadn't been invited to this feast. And when she heard the voices and the commotion going on inside the banqueting hall, she runs in. She came storming into the banquet and told Belshazzar what he wanted to hear. There was somebody in the kingdom that could explain what the writing on the wall meant. Now, she was possibly the widow or the daughter of Nebuchadnezzar, an old lady who'd been around for a long time. And she called Daniel. I don't know whether Daniel came in walking on a stick, but her initiative changed everything. And this improbable meeting between the elderly Daniel and the king Belshazzar would not have happened unless it was for the courageous initiative of this woman. Do you know, we live in times of incredible change, don't we? We've been talking about this pandemic for weeks now, for months, and we've been saying it's something unprecedented, something that's never happened in our lifetime before. And let us think how we can be people who are courageous at this time. Let us not become so conservative that we perish in irrelevance like the dodo. We need radical freshness today to face the many challenges of our time. Are you conservative in your view of Scripture? If you are, that's good. But you should be. But if you are conservative on Scripture, you should be radical on everything else. If we are unadventurous in our attitude, then we fail to grab the challenges of this day. We are faced with apathy generally. I know that in these days, people are buying online Bibles. People are praying more than they normally do. Apparently 24% of the population is actually logging in to online services. That's 1 in 4 of our people, which is amazing. But it's normally 5 or 7%. But generally there's an apathy. There's an obsession with sex, a widespread lack of purpose. There's rampant materialism. We are faced with inner city decay. And there's the matter of mental health and unemployment. In a previous age of rapid change, Christians has displayed sparkling spiritual dynamism. Robert Raikes founded Sunday schools for penniless children who no one was really bothered about. Anthony Ashley Cooper, better known as Lord Shaftesbury, got act after act through Parliament to protect the poor and the working children, the factory workers and exploited women. Thomas Bernardo was a red-headed doctor wanting to go as a missionary to China. But he was foiled in his attempt, and being moved at the plight of ragged kids on the streets without a home, away he went to found Bernardo Homes for Street Kids. And there are surely plenty of boys and girls out there, men and women out there that need our help. Where are the Thomas Bernardos of our day? Elizabeth Fry got a bill on prison reform through Parliament, so that inmates of prisons like Newgate were no longer tied to the treadmill for 12 hours a day and to the wall of their cell by night. These social revolutions were brought about by conservative evangelical Christians who allowed their conservatism on Scripture to make them radical about their time. Josephine Butler fought Acts of Parliament which made child prostitution possible. Did you know that it was legal 100 years ago? She fought that and she won. People like her lived in an age of rapid change. They grasped the opportunities. We live in an age of rapid change, and we need godly initiatives in our day. I've been challenged to think of what we could do as a church. We run a breakfast club, if you like, on Monday and Thursday. We've got a parent and toddlers group. We do kids clubs on Friday. But there's much more perhaps we could do. Perhaps we could have a music night when we invite a musician who's a Christian to sing and then give his testimony. Perhaps we could have a quiz night. These are only thoughts. Perhaps we could have a food night, a quiz night. I don't know. I was talking to my wife before we started this podcast and said that when this lockdown ends, that we're going to have a coffee morning at the house and invite all our neighbours to celebrate lockdown. Perhaps you could do the same. Perhaps you could have a coffee morning in your house. Perhaps we could do something, well, we're going to do something in our church, I reckon, to celebrate lockdown for our village that is over. What can we do? What initiatives can God place into our minds to change our society? What's it going to be like at the end of the lockdown? When is it going to end? How is it going to end? How is it going to affect us? I just pray that, like the Queen in this story, who took the initiative, as I said, she could have lost her life because she was uninvited. The king didn't want her to be there. What is God challenging us to do in this day? To take initiative and do something we've never done before. I just pray that we'll have the courage to take the bull by the horns and to achieve something and do something we've never done before. So as we come to the end of this series of thoughts on courage, I pray that something this week has touched your heart, has challenged you, or perhaps made you think differently and do something new for God. God is doing a new thing, Isaiah said. Not a new thing out of an old thing. Not a new thing shaped by an old thing, but something brand spanking new. Behold, I am doing a new thing. I wonder, will we be prepared to do whatever he asks? Lord, I just pray today that we'll be up for the challenge, that we will be people of initiative, that we'll do things we've never done before for you. Amen.